This next concept focuses on the mind-body connection. We talked about our built-in survival mechanism involving scanning for danger and threats. The concept of mind-body connection and muscle memory is also rooted in our biology. When faced with extreme danger, our bodies and minds immediately go into condition red. This fear or hypervigilance is a process that produces a massive dump of stress hormones in our bodies, preparing us for an instinctive fight or flight option. This is how we biologically operate, but also how you are trained in the fire service, always anticipating, thinking, imagining, or planning for worst-case scenarios. Because firefighters face ongoing chronic daily hassles that include running repetitive non-emergency calls and always being on standby mode, they live and operate in a condition pink zone. These routine calls, none of which are challenging to our immediate survival, are ultimately a majority of our stress, frustration, and dissatisfaction with our job, and then create negativity. The good news is that well-researched, mindful breathing and self-calming techniques can help counteract the adverse reactions to this ongoing stimulus. Various forms of mindfulness training are now regularly used even in combat zones and can quickly reset your autonomic nervous system to its baseline. The IAFF has spent considerable time researching resilience for the fire service. Harvard Medical School has spent the last 25 years doing research on how very simple mindful calming strategies can assist in treating many major illnesses, such as cardiovascular disease, which we know is an identified threat to firefighters. There has been more and more research studies within the fire service looking for factors that were most correlated with the highest levels of resilience amongst our top-performing fire service professionals. One major finding was that mindfulness, or the ability to focus one's attention and mindset in a productive way, was one of the biggest predictors of firefighter resilience. By implementing mindful, self-calming strategies, firefighters can actually increase the density in the part of their brain most associated with improved mental focus. The tactics we can teach and practice are as easy and simple as breathing. These techniques are science-based, can all be practiced on an individual basis, and are frequently used by elite Olympic and professional athletes to change performance anxiety into gold medals. There are easy ways to reset your autonomic nervous system, which increases your cardiovascular health, situational awareness, and the ability to maintain healthy sleep patterns. These concepts need to be practiced individually and promoted and implemented organizationally. Along with Chief of Operations Tom Richardson from FDNY and IAFF Local 947 President Dave Coker from Greensboro, North Carolina, I have also asked firefighter Brian French from IAFF Local 493 Phoenix Fire Department to join us for this discussion about mind-body connections. So being in constant state of standby causes firefighters' bodies to release powerful stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol, which course throughout their bodies for sustained periods of time. Brian, why don't we start with you? Tell me about the types of stresses firefighters have to contend with while living in the fire station.
Sure. First I'd like to say I love being at the fire station. It's a lot of fun. Being around the fellas, being around the members, going on the fire truck, and being able to respond and fight fire is amazing, but it's definitely not a place that you can relax. And we're always waiting for the next thing to happen. You can never just completely relax and enjoy the day because there's something always going on. You're either training, you're working out. At the station I'm at, we're playing basketball, so there's no time to really relax. And then you're waiting for the next call to come in, and then your nervous system gets jacked up and your heart rate goes up. And so that goes on all throughout the day, whether you're awake, and taking a shower, PTing, or in bed. We're ready to respond, and I have to be on the truck within 1 minute, so I'm always ready to go. And so whether that call was a serious call or just the run-of-the-mill difficulty breathing call, my heart rate it doubles, it triples. And so coming back to the station, trying to reset and to get back to where my system feels good and relaxed again is almost near impossible. So yeah, it's a very stressful environment being at the fire station.
So, Dave, what do you think all of these frustrations and stressors can lead to in the life of a firefighter then?
Right, so a couple different things. On the medical side, obviously, those stressors can lead to cardiovascular disease, hypertension, but we can also sometimes go down a negative road as we try to deal with these stressors, right? I mean, we could engage in behaviors that aren't, very positive, whether that's too much alcohol or something along those lines. But it's a stressful environment, and if we don't manage that stress, it impacts everything. When we leave the firehouse, it's still going to impact us. It's going to impact us at home. It's going to impact our relationship with our family. So it is really critical that we pay attention to this.
So sometimes that's a hard transition from station to home, right?
Absolutely, and especially if you're at a busy company and if you've been up half the night and then you have family responsibilities the next day, your fuse could be really short, and so if you just got to be really mindful about that.
So Tom, what else do firefighters need besides good operational policies and procedures to ensure a successful outcome in a stressful situation?
So I think we need to incorporate some of the skills such as positive thoughts, making sure that we have those positive connections, those social connections with each other. And I think those skills should be incorporated into the training program, starting with recruit training or probationary firefighter training in our case, all throughout a firefighter and fire officer's career. As they get promoted to supervisor, it should also be reinforced and all the way up the line to chief officer training. I think that training is key, being able to make sure that we stress the skill set that's necessary in order for firefighters, fire officers, chief officers to be able to manage that human stress response when called upon.
So we have policies and procedures for how to do the things logistically, but we don't necessarily train firefighters on how do you keep yourself calm? How do you recover from being in that stressful situation?
So I think that we're learning a lot more about the physiological stressors or the physiological response to stress, right? So if we're able to teach things like tactical breathing, positive self-talk, things like that in our training programs, the key is trying to figure out where to put them, where to put it in the training program. So that's, I think, the challenge moving forward.
Right. Brian, learning these mind-body connection techniques can improve our resiliency and prevent problems if they're practiced on a regular basis. What does your department do to reinforce this?
I know at the station, for us to kind of work through some of this, I guess, anxious energy and having that kind of stressful environment, we work out a lot together. We'll do that, we'll PT. And then for me personally, being at the fire station, I think I'll do a lot of breathing exercises to reset my system so that, especially at night, when you go on a call and your nervous system goes through the roof and then you get back to the dorm, to kind of reset, I'll do some breathing and be able to kind of get back to where I was so I can have a restful night.
Organizationally, we need to learn how to implement these strategies into training. Where could resiliency practices be incorporated in a firefighter's training? Dave?
Well, I think we want to normalize these practices, so incorporating them into reoccurring training that we have. So whether it's EMT Con Ed, attaching a piece to EMT Con Ed, or your company officer upgrade, those are all opportunities, again, to normalize it and attach it to training that we're already comfortable with.
So maybe just reinforcing these resiliency concepts anywhere
Absolutely.
that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, what do you think?
I think having those social interactions throughout the tour of duty. Drill period is a time when we sit down and we're able to talk about different topics. Might be a particular drill topic for the day where we're able to discuss situations where we might come into a stressful situation, such as an example, hey, What are we going to do if we have a Mayday situation? What are you going to do as an individual if you have a Mayday situation? What's going to be your reaction? And reinforce the positive actions that firefighters should take when they come across those types of stressful situations. So I think just talking about them and trying to create an environment where we could have an honest discussion about it and make sure that we concentrate on action. In other words, what are you going to do if this situation comes up, if this stressful situation happens, this high stress environment, what are you going to do to counteract your physiological response?
So I think we're learning that mind-body connection is a big piece of training that we really haven't addressed in the fire service until recently, and identifying this as a key concept is going to be important.